Side characters are the lifeblood of a good story. You know, the most fully developed main character ever, but if the world and people around them feel flat, it doesn't matter. When side characters are done well, it makes a story 10 times better. If they're bad, 10 times worse. So I want to look at one terrible side character, our buddy Tepe. I am not a Tepe enjoyer for reasons I'll explain later. Anyway, we have this shit show, now let's juxtapose it with an amazing character, or characters, Melus and Silver. They have their similarities. Both are important characters to their arcs, and the big one, both. Spoilers for Fontaine and Inazuma, you have 5 seconds. Okay, you've been warned, they all die. So why is it that when Tepe dies, I couldn't care less, and when Melus and Silver died, I cried for a solid few minutes? Well, the second I thought about it, it was pretty obvious, so let's look into it. Before we get into it, remember to like and subscribe. I make a ton of videos like this one analyzing Genshin's story, so make sure to turn on notifications so you never miss an upload. We recently hit 3K subs, so seriously thank you for all your support thus far. In addition to my thanks, I'm hosting a welcome giveaway in my Discord until October 17th. That's only 5 days away, so it's now or never. I'll be announcing the results on the 19th, which will also be the day I do viewer polls for Shiori and Jelanen, as well as my own C6 polls. Alright, I already said it, but spoilers for Fontaine and Inazuma. Let's get into it. Let's start with Melus and Silver. We meet them after we begin our investigation of Linny's trial by Navia's side. Navia is the main plot focus of the first and second acts of Fontaine, but Melus and Silver are by her side through all of it. These two are amazing examples of side characters. We could focus on them, but without losing focus on Navia. But how is this balance achieved? The main thing that helps them here is how closely their goals are tied with Navia's. Their main goal is assisting her. While this can come off as just being forced admiration and the merry suification of Navia, this pitfall is countered by having that goal explained. Both Melus and Silver were close with Navia's father, Callus. One of his final wishes for them is to help her in her goals. Not to mention the main plot of Navia's story, especially in the second act, is finding out what happened to Callus. Of course, two of his closest friends wanted to find the truth as well. Because the story takes the 30 seconds to explain why they're motivated to help Navia, the story is so much better for it. The story also takes time to endear us to them. We see them support Navia as a friend would. They help her hobbies, keep her safe, make her laugh, all while having distinct personalities. Maluf gives chill old man vibes, while Silver is a stone-faced comedian. They feel like actual people, not just accessories to Navia. They have stories of their own that we get to hear and learn. So now let's talk about Tepe. As I mentioned before, he and Melus and Silver, which I will henceforth be calling the Spina Boys for convenience, play surprisingly similar roles. Anyway, Tepe and the Spina Boys are both NPCs that serve as emotional hooks. And yes, by the way, Tepe is a side character. The Traveler is the main character in the Inazuma story. While it's absolutely not the case in later regions, it is here. Inazuma, the nation of bad writing, strikes again. I'll talk about their individual death scenes in more detail later, but I want to talk about Tepe in general first, contrasting him to Melus and Silver. One of the first things I mentioned with the Spina Boys was how intimately their goals tied into the plot. So, what's Tepe's goal? From the moment we start to know him, he wants to be stronger. So, this ties into Inazuma's plot. How? Well, for one, he's in the Watatsumi resistance. It's clear he has a strong ambition, which should tie nicely into the plot, but it doesn't because, as we know, he dies. I could talk forever about how Tepe is a direct contradiction to the theme of the Art Conquest, but then this video will be an extra 10 minutes, so back on topic. By the way, if you would want a full Tepe deconstruction video, let me know. I am so down. Anyway, my point is, he doesn't really tie into the plot in a workable way. Not to mention his goal undermines his place in the military. We have shown that the resistance has one goal. This is our goal as well. But Tepe's goal is mostly to rise in the ranks, which has zero bearings on the plot. I think it could be interesting if he wanted to rise in the military because, say, he had a vision taken from him. Maybe rising in the ranks could be his way of proving to himself that he can be strong without it, bracing to live the rest of his life as just a normal man. While it doesn't particularly tie into the plot, you know what it does do? Make us give a shit about the guy. To recap Tepe's story, we save him from samurai, he exposition dumps about the resistance, then takes us to them. He tours us around the camp, then we leave to go fight some battles. After returning, he fangirls some more, and then we are made captain of Swordfish too. Tepe is assigned to do some other work, and we part ways. Let me emphasize, part ways. We don't see him after this for quite a while. Literally, why isn't he on our squad if we're apparently friends? Not to mention we could have, I don't know, seen his development. Every time we see him again, he's somehow higher in the ranks, and how? A week ago, you were crying on a beach, and how are you some badass top-of-line soldier now? And sure, I get the delusions exist, and it's supposed to be suspicious, but when the whole pond is toxic, another dead fish won't catch your eye. The Inazuma quest already shoves details in players' faces, so this subtle hinting doesn't work when we've been trained by the story to assume the face value. Not to mention because we're away from him so often, we don't get to connect and learn about him. We don't even get a crumb of backstory. And then he dies. If you were sad when Tepe dies, you probably weren't. We associate ourselves with the Traveler, and they felt sad, so we did too. Let me ask the Tepe enjoyers, why do you care about this man? And not like a vibe, like an actual thing he did. Because I'm willing to bet you're either misremembering or don't have one. I want to talk about one other thing with Tepe and the Spina Boys, their deaths. I felt nothing for Tepe. For Melus and Silver, I cried immediately. So let's start with Tepe. This fails for two reasons. One, like I mentioned earlier, we barely spend any time with him. Not to mention not knowing his backstory. Why would we care about someone we barely know? And the other reason is, it relies completely on the Traveler. While the Traveler has some debate about whether or not they're actually a self-insert, which I've covered, they're undeniably a player vessel. So when the game makes the Traveler angry and bitter after his death, we don't have a choice in how we react to it. Instead of letting us react naturally and having our feelings take their course, we're forcefully steered onto a specific path. People are so diverse in how they emotionally react to things, and taking that agency from us, the player, we're taken out of the experience. So how did the Spina Boy's death work where this one doesn't? This mainly corresponds with my second reason against Tepe's scene. The Traveler isn't forced to feel anything when the Spina Boys die, but we don't lose an emotional hook with this scene. Unlike Tepe, the one dying isn't the emotional hook, not entirely. While ideally we grieve for the Spina Boys, I certainly did, even if you don't, we see Navia grieve. And even though we know quite a bit about the Spina Boys, we know way more about Navia, and have connected with her by this point. The story doesn't force us to feel the impact, but to see it in Navia. Then we can decide for ourselves. We don't have to feel sad, because she does, and her reaction makes sense. For example, say your best friend's aunt died. You never knew her, but they were very close, like a second mother to your friend. You probably don't care about your friend's aunt dying, so therefore you won't feel sad. But if your friend is devastated, you care about that friend more than the aunt, and feel sad because of them. The Spina Boy's death works because it relies on a fundamental trait in all humans, empathy. Even if you don't like Navia, you can empathize with her struggle. So as always, what can we learn from this if we want to enrich our own side characters? 1. Connect their goals to the main plot. Ensure side characters have motivations that intertwine with the main character's goals or the story's central themes. This creates a sense of purpose and relevance. 2. Provide backstory and development. Give side characters their own histories and arcs. When readers understand their pasts, they're more likely to connect emotionally. 3. Establish distinct personalities. Make side characters with unique or specific traits or quirks. This adds depth and makes them memorable, as seen with Melus and Silver. 4. Balance focus. Allow side characters to shine without overshadowing their protagonist. They should enhance the story, not detract from it. This can be achieved by highlighting their skill in a supportive role, for example. 5. Use relationships to create emotional impact. Explore the dynamic between side characters and the main character. Their relationship can evoke empathy and heighten emotional stakes. 6. My favorite piece of advice in these Inazuma videos, show, don't tell, obviously. Reveal character traits and motivations through action and dialogue instead of exposition. This makes them feel more organic and engaging. 7. Encourage empathy. Create scenarios where readers can empathize with side characters, enhancing emotional engagement without direct manipulation. 6. Maintain consistency and character growth. Show side characters evolving over time. Their growth should feel natural and believable, contributing to the overall arc. So yeah, that's about it. If you have anything to add or different opinions, let me know in the comments. I'm down for critique, but I'd like to ask you guys to protect the arguments, not the people. I live for constructive debate, but it's hard to have a meaningful discussion when everyone is just insulting each other's intelligence. So please be respectful to everyone. If you did like the video, though, of course, like and subscribe. But that's all from me. So have a good morning, afternoon, evening, or night, wherever you are, and hope to see you in the next one.